Hello, we're going to take you today through some introductory techniques for American Open Style Karate as practiced as A.K.A.N.A Duellatoria. We're going to take you through some basic techniques as used in your first kata, and these are just introductory techniques into the system. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit today about American Open Style Karate's first kata PivotForm. This was taught to me all done in front stances. We've made a few changes to it and now include two stances. We include the front stance and the basic stance. Alright, so we have two stances we're going to move in. Our first one is our front stance. So we're going to get our feet about hip width, if not slightly more. Okay, we're going to bend our front knee so it bends over the ball of our foot. We're going to have our back leg straight. And we're going to keep our body upright with our chin up. About 60-40, 60% of our weight on the front, 40% on the back. Varies a little bit. Okay, so we're going to walk with this. We're going to bring our foot under our hips and out into our next front stance. And we're going to keep that back heel down, weight pressed into the balls of the feet. And we're going to go forward. And we're going to go back. And we're going to go back. So let's take a look at this stance from the side. Our front stance is here. Knee bent over the ball of the foot, chin up, back straight, hips forward, back leg straight and the heel down. Weights on the balls of the feet. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about how to make a fist. This is our first thing. So we're going to take our fist and we're going to roll our hand into our own hand. So we're going to take the first digits and roll them around. And then we're going to take our thumb and put it over the second part of the hand there, creating a fist. This is our striking surface. Alright, so we're going to just roll our hand right over with our thumb there and tuck that in so we get a nice straight surface right here. Okay, we're going to strike with these two knuckles, which aligns the bones up with the arm, or these three knuckles, which aligns the center up with the arm. So we want skeletal alignment. We don't want to twist the hand this way, which leaves these knuckles in here or here. We want a nice straight wrist. And that is how we make a fist. Okay, so we're going to take a short horse stance. So we're just going to come out, feet parallel, a little bit more than hip width, and bend our knees and sink down and push our knees out so that the knees bend over the toes. Okay, this is our prepared position. Okay, but we're going to chamber here, just in the spot between the rib cage and the hips, in that soft spot here. Okay, let's talk about how to throw a punch. So we're going to start with our reverse punch. So we're going to bring this fist out, invert it up. We're going to get the elbow in front of the body. It's got to pass the body and turn it over and snap it into place. If we roll that elbow out too soon, before we get past our body, then the elbow goes out as we turn it over and we rob ourselves of power. We want to keep everything behind the fist. Boom. To generate power. Right, so we're just going to throw a few punches. Okay, I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this from the side. And come here, yin and yang, so we're going to pull these out. Okay, so we're going to bring this forward, turn it at the last second. This is our reverse punch. Normally do this out of a forward stance. Okay. Alright, so then let's talk about our jabs. So we're going to have a vertical fist jab, and we're going to hit with these three knuckles. Okay, so we're here. We're going to turn that over a quarter turn, boom, straight out. Okay, again, I'll turn this 90 degrees so you can see this from the side. Okay, and you'll see that I'm powering this slightly from the hips. Third technique is a lead hand turnover punch. Again, I'm here. We're going to now the palm is facing me. I'm going to turn this half a turn as it comes out. Okay, those are our 3 punches. With the turnover punch, I'm going to use 2 knuckles. With the vertical punch, I'm going to throw 3 knuckles into that mix and aim with this center knuckle. I don't want to hit with this little knuckle. This is how we get a boxer's fracture. So our jab is done here. Okay? And we're going to strike with these 3 knuckles. If you take a look at old Western pugilism, talk about throwing the vertical punch because it creates a bigger surface area across 3 knuckles than if you turn your hand over, which only emphasizes 2 knuckles. I'll take a close-up picture and we'll put that on camera here in a little bit, and you can see how that works. So I like to throw this jab with a vertical punch, and that's how I teach it. So again, we're here, and it's straight punch here. Okay, so our reverse punch comes from the hip, so we're going to chamber this hand between the hip bone and the lower rib cage, right in that divot there by your kidney. Okay, now this is going to come out here. It's important that the elbow gets in front of your side before you start to turn this over, and we're going to snap that into place. So, and you can see that I'm throwing the hip and locking everything out as everything hits with the strike. Okay, take this sideways. And we've got the yin yang going in the hands. We come out slowly and good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about generating power in our techniques. So in our reverse punch, we want to power this from our hips and our rear foot. Okay, our power is coming from the ground, channeled through our leg into our hip and out the skeletal structure of the arm. Okay, so when we punch, we're going to turn this over at the last second, generating acceleration and tension right into the end of the strike. And at the exact same time, we're going to throw the hip into the strike. So I'm going to look to the side so you can see how this works. I'm going to start in my basic stance because that's where we're at in our kata. Jab. Okay. So I'm going to roll this out, snap in my front stance, which squares my hip forward. It's important this butt stays tucked to drive all your power forward. So we're going to come here, jab, and punch. Okay. And one more time from our jab, and punch slow. If I do that fast, jab and punch. Okay, so let's talk about our blocking technique. We're only going to use 1 block. Okay, and we're going to use our outward block. So I'm going to get into a short horse stance again to practice this. Okay, in our outward block, our hands work together. We have a checking hand and a blocking hand. When we block, we're going to use the bones in the forearm just behind the wrist. Okay, there's a bone on either side, the inside and outside of the wrist. That's what we're going to strike with. We're not going to strike with the meaty part in between. All of our nerves are in here, that hurts. In this case, I'm going to use the bone next to the thumb side to strike with. And I'm going to use my checking hand open. Make sure all your fingers stay closed. If you get these spread apart and you catch just one finger, it can hurt. Keep everything closed. All right? So from here, there's a punch coming in at my face. I'm going to check with my palm, which has to go across my face as my blocking hand comes down in front of me, like I'm bringing my elbows together. Then I'm going to bring this up, outside. Palm is down on the blocking hand with the fist closed. This is going to get in front of me, and I'm going to snap it into place so that I'm looking at my palm. and striking with this bone. I'm going to chamber this here into that soft spot between my floating rib cage and my hip bone. Okay, again. So I'm going to check and block. And check and block. These hands have to work together. And check and block. And check and block. Okay, so let's talk about generating power in the outward block a little bit. This is going to be a little more complex because it's done in two ways. One, we can generate that power by twisting our hips into the block, and also we can generate power by twisting our hips in the opposite direction of the block in order to create a yin-yang aspect where the opposite motions help each other to generate power. But importantly, as we talked about before, is this snap at the end, which generates momentum, right? Speed is power. But we're going to generate additional power from our hips. So, from a slight horse stance, when I throw this outward block, my hip's going to go backwards and my hand's going to go to the right. Generate a little bit of power, bring in the shoulder slightly forward. And the opposite. Make sure you chamber this. This will help with the yin and yang. Okay, from a front stance, this can happen two ways. So I'm going to push my hip forward as I block with my left hand. So I'm going to check. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to press my hip forward as this snaps into place. Okay. So from here, okay, and I can step forward. So everything snaps into place together. Okay, from my basic stance, I have two different ways I can do this. So when we start, we're going to step back into a basic stance. So I'm opening my hips up the opposite direction of the block. So the block is going this way, the hip's going that way. This is a yin-yang action, so I'm stepping back into my basic stance. Okay, so I'm stepping back into my basic stance, jab, punch. Okay. Now, the third aspect we have is when we turn, right? So, I found my forward block in my front stance. I'm going to turn to my left. As I turn this foot, this opens my hips up again. All right, but I'm going to let my shoulders turn with the turn and let that turn power this checking hand. All right, so there's the turn. All right. Okay, so as I turn, this is going to power. Okay. That last aspect is a little tip from Kiyoshi Ricky Smith back in North Carolina. Let's practice that and we'll put the entire kata together. Okay, so let's talk about our kick. We're going to do this from a front stance. So I'm going to get into my front stance here. And we're going to kick with our back foot. Okay? And we're going to do a front snap kick. Front snap kick is executed from the knee. And we're going to strike with the ball of the foot. So if you take your foot and you just turn it up like this, you can see I have to extend the ankle. And I can strike the floor with the ball of my foot with the toes curled back. That's my striking surface. Okay? So from the side it looks like this. Front snap kick. Lift the knee, that's how you get your height. Snap it out from the knee and back. Good. Practice that on both feet. Okay, for the purpose of what we're doing, we're going to practice that front turnover punch with our snap kick. So we're going to throw a left turnover punch and a right snap kick. So I'm going to get into my front stance. So we're here. And from here, I can kick and punch. Okay. From the side, I'm not going to throw the hips into this and get a thrusting kick with the hips because that pulls my upper body back. So again, this is a front snap kick and a punch. All right, let's talk about stance work. So we've got our short horse stance, feet parallel. We can go into a good horse stance and get a little wider. Okay, but for now we're going to go with this short horse stance. So this is our prepare. We're going to step out. Here. Okay, we're going to salutation. We're going to make a triangle with the hands, bring these up. It's just a sun salutation. And bow. Okay, so let's put these techniques together and we'll get our first kata, which is called PivotForm. Now, part of the purpose of PivotForm is to teach quick movement and basic techniques. So we do a sequence on one side, we do it on all four sides until we come back to where we've started. Okay, so here's how we get started. We're going to start at attention. We're going to step out to prepare, salutation, and bow, and prepare. Okay, so we're going to do this on the right. We're going to step back on the right foot to basic stance and check, outward block, vertical jab. Right turnover reverse punch as we pivot into our front stance. Snap, kick, and punch. Punch. Step forward, checking and blocking. Okay, this is our first sequence, so let's do that again. So we're here. We're going to step from prepare, block, jab, punch, kick punch, punch, block. One more time. We're going to step back in, block, jab, punch, kick punch, punch, step forward, and block. Good. Now, I'm going to turn this 90 degrees so you can see this from the side. From my block, I don't want to wind this up. I want to throw this straight out from here. Boom. Block, jab, punch, kick punch, punch. Come on. Salutation. Prepare. Okay, I'm going to step back on the right foot and outward block. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Step forward and block. Now I'm going to pivot into my basic stance and block. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Okay, so I want you to take a close look at what I'm doing here when I turn. This is a tip from Kiyoshi Ricky Smith back in North Carolina, which I thought was really good when I turn. We do this a little different because we do this from our front stance to our basic stance, as opposed to doing the whole kata in our front stance. This is a change that I made when I started teaching again. So, here we are. I'm going to turn to the left. We're going to let the body drive this. So picture someone grabbing my shoulder. I'm going to let the body drive this hand coming across. So I'm going to turn here and take it. So as I come across, the body is pushing off this right foot into my stance. Jab, punch. Okay, punch, punch. Okay, now as I do these strikes turning to the left, from here, I'm going to come and turn. I want you to picture that hand coming up to touch my shoulder. I'm going to outward block and then immediately jab. This will happen very quickly. So, coming here, boom, jab to the face. All right, so this will come quickly. I want you to watch this hip and the feet as I jab. I'm pushing off the back foot and shoving my weight forward a little bit. And I'm coming back into the reverse punch. All right, so we're here. We come here, gonna look left, go. Okay, so we're gonna step back to our outward block. Jab. Now as you throw this outward block, what you don't want to do is pump this arm and load it. You want to start straight from there. Power comes from the hips and the feet. Okay? So, we're here. We're going to step back. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. See, that's the turnover punch. And punch. Outward block on the other side. Look to the left and drive it. Boom. Okay, let's put all of these techniques together and we'll have our first kata called PivotForm. We're going to start at attention with our feet together and prepare. Salutation. Bow. Prepare. Stepping back on the right foot into basic stance. Left outward block. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Step forward. Outward block. We're in our front stance. Pivot to the left into basic stance. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Step forward. Block. Look to the left. Block. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Step forward, block. Look to the left, basic stance, block. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Step forward, block. Look to the left. Power this with your body as you go into your basic stance. Check and punch. Jab. Punch. Kick and punch. Punch. Finish by punching to the face. D! Step up. Prepare. Salutation. Bow. Okay, we're going to practice the kata on both sides. So we're going to do it first time stepping back onto the right foot. Jab and punch and go around to the left. And we're going to practice this stepping back on the left foot and blocking with the right. And going around the opposite direction. It's important you learn to do this both ways so that you can learn all the techniques on both sides. Okay, so now let's take a look at that entire kata. We're going to start from attention and go through the entire motion. Punch to the head at the end. Okay, good. So we're going to do this on the left side. We're also going to do this on the right side. Part of the purpose of this kata is to get you into solid stances and strikes and to create mobility. As we go up through the ranks, we're expected to do this kata a little bit faster and still keep good form.